Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was...
Look again. Freeze it.
Good morning, everybody. This morning I wanted to do a little bit of an inspirational speech on, well, not too much of a speech, I guess. Just talk about some of the things that needs to be addressed during these times that we're dealing with. You know, these times of so much corruption being brought out so far. So much stuff that people are starting to find out, but it's like you got people out there telling them the truth of what's going on. At the same time, we got to deal with the same people we're trying to wake up, who are so dependent on the system that they're working against us. Basically, they're so addicted to it. It's like a drug, you know. Like, they are just solely dependent on the system and the system alone. They have no independency to basically have self-sustainability, you know, themselves. They become too lazy. In a way, when you start to realize all that has been happening, it's not so much as their fault, really. Because, I mean, because of the way the system is, they were programmed that way. Most of us who do have, like, high enough vibrational frequencies to break free from the system's control, to actually go out there and, you know, and literally fight to hold on to our individuality, we're the ones who are on the battlefield right now, you know, fighting this. That we're not gonna, you know, allow this stuff. Some of us may have been friends with people who lost their, you know, real identity. What I mean by real identity is that people tend to lose their true identity due to peer pressure. As I stated before, they want the part of you. They just want something that they'll construct out of you to get you to discard your true self, not to get to know your true self, to get you know, to construct the self of you that fits into their social demographic, basically. You don't want to ever fall for that, because once you do, you lose the true self that you once were. And if you are too far, you know, involved in that, you're gonna end up just accepting that false self of you as your real self, and that's an area you do not want to be at. You know, definitely don't want to be there. Because remember, when you were born, God gave you a true self. God created you a true self. God did not create you to be configured, to have your personality configured or programmed. You know, that was never the intent. But you got individuals out there who just wants to configure and change people's minds, but even without their consent. It's so bad that they do this to people when they're young, man. Myself being a victim of this, it's like I got to fight against both people who seek to, you know, put me back to sleep, as well as fight against myself with this technology that they use. For people who are not too far aware of the effects of this, on this, you know, on the severe levels, I get it. You won't even understand too much of it, but understand this stuff does exist. This is a real thing. And honestly, I'm doing my part in, you know, supporting information to help people to be able to fight against this. Because technically, if you hadn't seen the documents I had showcased on this channel earlier in my past few videos, it goes into details on showing how they're experimenting on people, how in great detail on when all of these documents were first, you know, laid out, and how they're doing it and getting away with it. They're getting away with it because people are ignorant of it. And when you try to tell people of it, they designed it to where they would just assume that you don't even know what you're talking about. Like it's not something real. As soon as you bring up the subject, people are automatically saying, "Oh no, that's vapor. That's not chemtrails. That's vapor." And they'll even tell you chemtrails don't exist. They're being paid to hide the fact that chemtrails exist. You want to know something? After I had after I started telling people made that after I made that video for people to use their bone conduction headphones on their on the top of their skull instead of their ears, since technically here basically and I'm glad Vocal Mover Ring did give us a good description of this. They do go through the ears, but it's to get to the skull. It's to get to the inner parts of the skull. So why not have the earphones themselves just on the skull, having on both sides, working on the brain, since that's where the nanoparticle tech is going to, right? Kill it off there, and then it won't even have the damaging effects that it normally would. You screw up their multi-billion-dollar technology when you do that. And let me tell you something: when they try to mess with you as you're walking, they got to mess with the brain in order for them to be able to mess with your body. So what's going to happen if the nanotech can't be free to do what it needs to do on the brain? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. It can't, send the pulses or the signals to the other, areas to basically, set out a specific function. People don't believe me that you have biofilm all over your body. Look, man, take a bath, put like a whole, get yourself a box of borax and a box of what is that? Baking soda. If you're not allergic to it, pour both boxes in there, the whole damn thing. Don't be shy. Pour the whole thing in there, okay? Pour the whole thing in there, because I did this yesterday. Biofilm was coming off of me from all over the place, man. I could literally see it just peeling off. And some people would mistake this for dead skin. Dead skin don't look like that. It's like it's literally like sludge, man. It's a very scary thing to have to deal with, the fact that they're doing with this all the time. And that's the whole reason why that's the whole reason why, like, I got this picture showing up there for you all, because the truth is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt that they've been experimenting on people, and it's gonna be hurting when you realize the truth that many different people who may have actually tried to wake you up to the realism of this and the whole identity of this, right? Who tried to help you. If you become aware that you're one of the few out there who just cast them away, and if that person ended up being institutionalized because of that, or they just ended up, losing their life or being in jail, you're gonna feel bad about it. Because they sought out and looked for help, but they got, the help got rejected. All because people thought their reality was true. But look, man, the reality we have been fed all these years, it's a false reality. This whole thing that we're in now is the Matrix, okay? The whole thing is. And anybody who would awaken from that Matrix basically gets targeted by the government. Why? Because they can't afford that person to basically be able to awake other people. The whole thing is like a damn hive mind. You set one person off, that person has the chance of setting the whole area off. You start talking about certain things, certain people start showing up in your life that you hadn't seen before, people you haven't even met. All of a sudden, people you once knew start acting strange. They start acting more scripted-like instead of regular. What I mean by regular is themselves, like just literally acting as if like there's nothing to gain out of anything. It's just like casual conversation, nothing like that. But when you notice you're gonna notice this, because these people are like bad actors, man. And even if it's a real actor, like even that is still alarming, because a person who's like this is a such thing as a person who is just too well scripted. You can easily notice that. Other than that, I'm still working on the frequency belt, or should I say frequency harness belt. People who don't know what this is going to be, it's going to be basically so, basically an invention that anybody can just about make in their own homes. You just need the wiring, um, a well sizable harness for this, and the speakers. Just connect the connections. Have it going all the way around your waist because you need to have that around your core. You need to go, along the sides of your chest as well, because you're gonna have to have this around going around your heart, your back, both your lungs and all that stuff. You gotta have it going around there too. And what's gonna happen is that this is gonna really, when you play the right frequencies with something like this. And by the way, if you do make the connection with this, with the wiring, make sure that the wire connecting from your device to the belt itself has a volume adjustment switch on it too, or a volume adjustment dial, because you're gonna need that to turn the volume up a bit. Or you can also just download a volume amplifier app that actually boosts up the volume of your device. So you can do either or. But honestly, all three would even be better. But you don't want to risk blowing out the speakers. Um, Again, if you hadn't seen what I was talking about earlier, you could just take your bone conduction headphones, right? Have it on the top of your head instead of your ears. Play the right frequencies through there for parasites, right frequency parasites. You can look that up on YouTube. You'll find it. If you don't feel like doing that, you can just find them on the playlist. I got them there. Also, the X Player app, that that app allows you to be able to play sound videos on your phone, but you can also play videos on YouTube at the same time. Why is this important? Quite simple. It means you can basically have the same video, or should I say the same audio that you downloaded, playing while watching the same audio playing on your phone. So you could have two things playing at once. This amplifies the effects. Now, why would you want to amplify the effects? If you amplify the effects, then you stand more of a greater chance at killing off the nanotech. It has no way of escaping. It has no way of getting away. And it gets killed off a lot more quickly because the frequencies are happening a lot more rapidly. Um, I gotta tell you, they were super pissed off about this when I started getting the biofilm off, and I started killing this parasitic stuff off so bad that they sent I want people to definitely look up the codes. Public code 108 slash 89, and the date for this code is 1997. If you've seen what I was going over before, basically what was happening is that that was the code that was leading all the way up to chemtrails. And it literally is talking about like how they're putting chemicals out there. Come on, man. If something like that is documented and put in the books, you can't call somebody mentally ill if it's in the books. You can't do that because that's something you can just look up. It's there. It's documented. So if it's not real, well, it's pretty obvious that the person who's telling you it's not real, they're not being honest with you. They're not. Um, and that's just it. The main problem that we have to deal with nowadays is people who are being paid off to support the system, right? Through favoritism. And we got to deal with people who are just too addicted to the system that will fight to protect it as well, who will willingly fight to protect it because they don't see any other way of living. They don't see how they can just go out and support a livelihood on their own 2 feet. They don't see how they can just go out and build a house. They would rather have someone else do it. They don't see how they can just go out and catch their own, catch food. Some people are fortunate enough to get this trait despite all the crap going on out there. But most people don't. They're too far lazy. They're too far unwilling to really accept that kind of change in their life. And then when it comes to that, it's when you start to realize like where strength actually lies. And I started to realize something, you know? No, like certain people who are involved with this damn organization, I noticed something like very peculiar. And I did a test on this. When I'm around certain people who are hired by this organization, right? What they would do is and I think they caught on to me when I was doing this too. Cause they had they had like really did something to the network to really fuck with it. Now this is what I did. I had a don't like if I'm interacting with people, it's like something is lowering my frequency, right? My vibrational frequency, and I could feel it. I could feel it because like certain things would be said that wouldn't normally be said, and that it feels more like like more and more less of myself. Like I'll be around a group of people, or I'll be having a random conversation with a group of people. And all of a sudden, I would find myself cursing out of nowhere. I'm like, wait a minute, where's this coming from? Because this isn't me that normally does that. And sure, I mean, I'll curse from time to time, but I seek forgiveness after that, and I try to stop myself from doing it, like I'm doing now. I'm not even cursing right now. And guess you want to know why I'm not? Because I listen to some high vibrational frequencies that raised them up. And I did this all while I was sleeping. Now, when I don't do it, I find myself in a state of cursing, right? So basically, they're using these weapons to basically lower my frequency to the point to where I would be more likely to sin. If that ain't unfair, I don't know what is, you know? But miraculously, I started playing the video as I was in the lobby to actually have a discussion about it. And while I noticed that my vibration was lowering, I started playing the frequency to raise it up. All of a sudden, the minute I started doing that, bam, connection error. If that is not something to be shocked about, I don't know what is. Out of all the time that could have happened, it happened right when I started doing that. It happened right then and there. It happened right then and there. I think that our vibrational frequencies that are being lowered, it definitely has certain abilities and certain traits to it, like I stated before. But these traits cannot be utilized unless our frequencies are heightened, which is why they're so desperate to keep them lowered. Now, something else could have happened. Sure, I'm just going to say how it is. Something else could have happened. But for something to happen right then and there like that, man, I just don't know. I really just don't know. But it just leads you to believe. It leads you to know that like everything that is going on is definitely all circled around our vibrational frequency. Whether it be this technology that they're using to attack us with, whether it be the 5G that's being used to fuck with our frequencies, whether it be anything like that at all, man, anything else, it all stems down to our basic frequencies. The one thing you definitely do not ever want to do is take that damn vaccination. I'll tell you that right now. And from one fellow individual to another, whether you're a TI or not, I'm willing to stand up and fight this. But if people don't wake up before like when it gets way too close to October, I'm gone. I'm telling you that right now. And that's my warning to anybody else out there. You do not want to still be in the cities during that time. You do not. I don't care. I don't care what your current situation is. I don't care if you got bills to pay. I don't give a damn. Get your ass out of the city. Pardon my language, but like that's how serious it is. Get yourself out of the city before October hits. If enough people don't wake up. Why is this important? Simple. Because of their satanic calendar that's out there, October is when they're going to end up sending the attacks onto the schools with that weaponry that they got installed. That stuff is still there. It is still there. I have not seen not a single news article of someone going out there ripping that shit out of the schools And I still believe people are still sending their kids to the schools, you know, which is the worst thing they could possibly do. They're gonna find if they are still stupid enough to really believe this though, and again, it's not their fault. They were dumbed down, they were duped, they were manipulated, and they're too infatuated into this that they just don't see the truth for what it is. It's not a simple concept for someone to really question a reality like that, because when they do, it's a very scary thing, you know? Not all of us are brave enough to really accept that the truth of this, or reality for what it is. But you got to accept the fact, there's one solid fact, that people are that there is corruption out there, and people do accept money, right? Payoffs to do their dastardly deeds. I want everybody to understand that TIs are basically victims, okay? But in reality, we don't really view. For those of us who have awoken, for those of us who have risen up and fought this, we don't view ourselves as victims. You know, we don't. We view ourselves as warriors, as fighters of this, to fight against this tyranny. You know, as anointed ones. So we're not in any way, shape, or form weak. Now the enemy is weak. You know, the enemy is weak, which is why they'll use many different things to basically down us. But you got to understand, all of the stuff that they do is all meant to psychologically put you in a state of fear. One thing you don't ever need to do is fear, because when you start to be afraid is when you start to lower your guard, when you start to lower your defenses, and it puts you more and more in a state to being controlled. They could wave a gun in your face. They could wave a knife in your face. They could threaten your life. They could do any of that. Don't ever be afraid. Don't. Because understand, there's more to things than just this reality we're living in right now. There's more to it than that. But they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to even believe that. They'll call you crazy for even suggesting it. Why? Because the whole thing was constructed to literally blind you from it. That's what it was, and that's what it is. So many secrets being kept, so much corruption going around, so much going on, and so little time to even really do much of anything about it. We've only got a few months till October hits, but I'm gonna be all well secure to get out of here before then. But before that hits, I will have the frequency belt completed. When I start working on it, I will do a video while I'm constructing it. That way, you all have a good idea of what materials you'll need, what to use for it, and how to make it yourself. Why is this frequency belt important? Well, I've stated it before, but I'm going to state it again. It's important because of the stuff they're putting out there, in the chemtrails and everything. You're going to need, equipment to be able to kill this stuff off. Honestly, in my opinion, they really do F up when they target the wrong people. And it takes a toll, because the knowledge that one sole person finds, when that person shares that knowledge, they no longer have to just deal with like several other people. They don't longer just have to deal with that single person. They got to deal with everybody else who now knows about that. So I encourage every activist, people, if you know that whole concept, if you know something, say something, let's use that against this corruption. Let's use that against them. Instead of snitching on your neighbor, screw that. You know any secrets of this demonic organization, this corruptive government? You know any secrets, anything to these weapons that could kill this stuff off, that can tamper with their weaponry, that can literally end this mind control tyranny? You know something, you better freaking say something about it. You better say if there's a cure to this. You better say if there's a way to prove this. You better say anything that you know about this, because at this point, if no one stands up and no one speaks out, and we don't get the numbers needed to fight this, I can honestly say that if you think that temporary lockdown was one thing, Try having a lockdown for an entire year, not even being able to go out of your house. And that's why I'm basically mentioning that if we don't get enough people woken up, that's exactly what's going to happen. Oh, no, they're going to say you don't have to get the vaccination, but they're not going to let you leave your house. If you can't leave your house, how are you going to get some food? And it's not something as you can just naturally, grow your food in a combo. Because, I mean, you need fertilizer. You probably need some extra soil. Most people live in an apartment complex. That's not a proper location to basically grow a garden. Not to mention, you're literally still in the damn hive mind. You're literally still surrounded by 5G. So understand that that's the threat that I'm getting at, and that the schools is bad enough, but the other thing is the trigger to basically get you enslaved, to basically be stuck in your house, be stuck in your apartment, be stuck to not even go anywhere. Which is why it's important to get the heck out while you can, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. Definitely stay safe and stay strong, everybody. Do what you can to help everyone out there who are suffering from these directed energy torture weapons that they're using. Do the best you can to help people awaken as best you can. My prayers and love is going out to all of you. Stay safe, stay strong.